Hi, everybody. Welcome to KP Live. I am your hostess, Samantha Barrios. I am so excited to be with you all today. As we like to start out KP Live, I would like to acknowledge the indigenous ancestral lands of the Tongva people, which are the lands that my guest and I are on here in the Los Angeles area. And I would like for you to take a moment and acknowledge the ancestral lands in which you are on. And if you don't know, a quick Google search will give you all the answers. So a little bit. It's a, exciting time. All right. Also, Happy Pride. It's our last week of Happy Pride Month. But it doesn't have to stop here. You can celebrate Pride long. I know I do. I've got lots of rainbow stuff everywhere. So I hope everybody has had a fun month in protest and celebration. And then also here are some announcements. We have Poetry Pros and Pirates up on YouTube. I almost got that reversed. So that was our new virtual show. It is up right now on YouTube. It is hilarious. You don't want to miss it. It's 15 minutes of just sheer fun. And it's a little satire on the creative life here in Los Angeles, really anywhere, any creative. I don't want to say too much. Just go watch it. Just watch it with us. It's really funny. And then we will have a show drink coming. It'll do with rum, and I'm not sure what the mocktail is, but it's going to be fruity. That part I know. And then also don't forget Susan Matai's classes. If you want that information, visit our Facebook page, and you have all the links and up there. If for some reason announcement yourself, please email marketing@countlplayers.org. Did I get that right? I'm going to make sure that I did that right. I don't email myself. Okay, so today's guest I am super excited about. I'm so glad to have met her. We met while I was doing a show at Sacred Fools. She is a poet, a playwright, an actress, a comedian. I'm learning she does improv. Her show, There Is Evil in This House, was about to premiere just before the pandemic hit. So we're going to find out what is going on with that, what's it about, and all kinds of cool, fun things about her. So I would like to bring on Natalie Nicole Dressel.
Hello. It's so good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. My pleasure. I forgive me if there is a bit of a delay. I might sound like I'm a news person being like, and that's the weather. Back to you, Sam. News at 10.
And then I have the courtesy pause. Thank you, Natty. It's always a pleasure to have you on site. It's going to be.
You know how to handle it. We'll vamp. It'll be great.
Exactly. Yay. Well, I am super excited to speak with you. I am every single time. I just learn more and more about you every single time we talk, and you're just so very talented. So I would love it if you, I would love it if you would give our viewers a Reader's Digest version of you, where you're from, your life, how you got into theater, just a little bit of info.
Sure. I'm originally from Muskegon, Michigan, which is there on the Michigan hand map, if that's coming. My uncle was an actor, so like before I was even like 5 years old, I had seen my uncle in Macbeth. Ooh. And it was awesome because they cut his head off and they had like a fake head that ripped right off with blood that dripped out the bottom. And I was like, yes, Shakespeare. And my granny was like a huge influence, and she was taking me to see Showboat and any old musical that would come through town. So at church, they asked me if I wanted to play Joseph in the play, because I at that time was presenting male. Because I was really good at memorizing all the Bible verses. That's how you can tell who's going to be the actors in church, as the people who have got the Bible verses down.
Excellent point.
I was very nervous, and I'm like, no, thank you. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll find someone else. And then flash forward to me sitting in the audience watching this Christmas pageant and going, this Joseph's a hack. He doesn't know what he's doing. How they're just expecting us to sit here calling this entertainment. And so my parents were like, well, then don't say no next time if you want to be that much of a critic about it. So I didn't.
So when did they finally get you up on the stage? About how old were you?
When I was in high school, there was a theater program, but at that time I was like being told I needed to lose weight. So there was like conflicting information. I thought I would join football. And then the year I was in football, I hated it the whole time. The theater department just stopped. The person running it just didn't want to do it anymore. And so I had to, like, as a high schooler, bully my way into like community college and civic theater productions.
Wow.
Yeah, but it got me to sort of like know what the theater space around me was, like, before I even got out of high school, so I could hit the ground running pretty well.
Well, that's good. That's really sad, though, and disturbing that the theater program just disappeared from your school.
It was a football school, and arts funding was like this much, and our poor put-upon art teacher with her tattooed on eye makeup just couldn't handle it anymore, and I don't blame her a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I come from a family. I'm also a teacher. It's a lot when you don't have support from administration, from parents, from, anybody. It's a lot. Oh, that's so sad. Think of a town. Say the name of it again in Michigan.
Muskegon. It's like it's middle sized. It's on the lake shore. It's not like city big, but it's not like small town small. It's like somewhere in the middle. We've got history with the lumber industry and Charles Hackley and all of that good stuff.
I love it. So then how did you end up in Los Angeles? How did that journey happen?
Well, I mean, basically since I was little and realized that I could make people laugh, I wanted to do that. Actually, that's the sort of story of how I got interested in acting. But when I was really young, my dad died of cancer. He had lung cancer that spread to his brain. And after that time, for 6 or so months, my mom was really depressed and was hardly present. My aunt comes over 6 months later. She's like, "Oh, this house, we got to get y'all out of here." Took us to the movies. And this is a very seminal movie for me, but I tell people, please don't read too much into the fact that an important movie to me is Mrs. Doubtfire, because it's not important in the way you're thinking. But so we go see Mrs. Doubtfire, and my mom's still sad, and the movie's great and stuff. But there's this point where Sally Field is like, "So, Mrs. Doubtfire, how long after Mr. Doubtfire died did it take for you to sort of start dating or getting sexual again?" And Mrs. Doubtfire, which is of course played by her ex-husband that does not want her to do anything with anybody, says, never again. Once the father of your children is out of the picture, the only solution is total and lifelong celibacy. And if you violate that, then heaven forgive you. And we all our jaws dropped, and we looked over at my mom. My mom just looked back at us. Her face was and we all just had the largest cathartic laugh. And it was not a laugh line. We were just four weirdos laughing out loud at nothing in the middle of this movie. But I was like, wow, Robin Williams made my mom better. Even if it's only for a moment, he made my mom better. I need to learn how to do that. And that's sort of what set me on the path.
Oh my gosh, that is such an amazing testimony of the power of storytelling. That's why we do it. Sometimes we do this to teach. Sometimes we do it to inspire, and sometimes we do it to make somebody laugh and heal from their sadness.
Yeah, I've been nothing but healed by the media that I mean, I think that's why I moved to Los Angeles, honestly, is because I saw what a huge impact these stories that got to me had on my life.
Yeah.
Like in those months where my mom was sad and we just like kind of weren't existing as a family, we had on VHS tapes of Full House that we taped off of the television. And we would do nothing but watch them for hours and like all day long, from morning till night, nothing but Full House. And it wasn't even to like necessarily watch them. It was just to sort of like live in that environment, to get out of the house we were in and get somewhere else happy. And Full House was the show that did it for us, because they were also mourning the loss of a parent. It's, you know, people forget that, but that's a show about loss and mourning and trying to create a family out of nothing.
Exactly. and the bond that they all made in this non-traditional unit. It was it's really beautiful. And I think a lot of people could identify with that family in different ways, because divorced families or like all these different setups and scenarios, because there's nothing really talking about an alternative to the father, mother, 2.3 children and a dog unit.
Yeah, we saw ourselves in that sort of like weird, like they'd have plot lines like, well, how can I do this if I don't have a mom? You know, some like, it was, that's what's so, it gave me like a template that to know that healing was possible, because my own household was not giving me that template.
Right. And so then where along this trajectory did you start writing this down and writing plays, or did you start with poetry, or what?
Well, poetry has always sort of come easy because my granny was kind of a poet and a punster, and we would always be like writing little goofy things. So like I think I've always had a developed sense of that, but it didn't feel like anything. It was just like, oh yeah, I can write rhymes to my granny on the back of the church bulletin. You know, I didn't think that made me a poet or anything. I was more in it for the acting. I really get the kick being on stage, but when I transitioned at age 30, I started to notice that the parts I was being offered were like, hey, congratulations, you nailed the audition. Could we offer you a part where you're 1/17th of yourself? Would that be possible? Can you just whittle who you are down to just what we think a transgender person is? And I was like, I don't like that.
Right.
So I went to learn to write, and have started to write my own stories, to, you know, write stories for trans characters where being trans isn't the problem in the script. It's just a character trait about them. Like a straight person's straightness isn't the plot of a romantic comedy. It's just a part of it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it literally has zero to do with the plot, with the show at all, other than that's the love interest. Yeah. So that's interesting. So you didn't really get into this writing until later in life, into your 30s, which I'm assuming was just a couple of years ago. The 30 birthday. So this show that's coming on, real quickly before I ask this question, Melody Rivers, one of our viewers, says, oh, I love that authenticity, reality, integration.
Oh yeah, I want those like 3 words on like a wood plank hanging above my door, like live, laugh, love, but those ones are mine. Yeah.
Yes. Melody, can you jot that down for us? We can get that, because I absolutely love that. Especially that last one, integration. Put that up so everyone can see.
Oh yeah.
When you started and format this show, can you, without giving us a spoiler, give us what There Is Evil in This House is about?
Okay, so it definitely covers me coming out and losing my mom. I came out to her and it wasn't received well, and we haven't spoken since just before the 2016 election. Great time to come out, by the way.
Timing.
Yeah. The other parts of it is I grew up in a haunted house, and there were several, I think probably 40 plus instances of things that happened around the house when I was growing up after my dad died. Like furniture being stacked into an odd pile in the basement and no one having done that, channels changing, the smell of my dead father's cologne wafting through the house. Tiny things like, a chair kicking open on its own, leading up to big things like me going into my bedroom to change and finding a large black hunting knife stabbed into the heart of my bed mattress.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so scary, intense stuff. Like as a kid, especially, they had people from the church come over to cleanse the house and exorcise everything. I had a My Pet Monster doll, which was like a plushie that was okay to be sold to boys because my mom wanted to make sure I only had masculine toys. But it would look like a monster, and they said it was giving the demon comfort, so they had to burn that. And I watched them burn my favorite toy through the slats of the fence in my backyard.
That's not traumatic at all.
Oh yeah, there's nothing about any of this that's traumatic, I guess. It was terrible. It was hard to sleep because I started to feel like anytime I would have a bad thought that it might count as a demonic prayer if my fingers were pointing downward. So I would try to sleep with my fingers up because I didn't want a demonic prayer to accidentally count as a sin. Because then what if the ghost really quick killed me before I had a chance to ask for forgiveness? And then I would end up in hell on a technicality. So that's what kept me up as like a 5 or 6 year old.
I'm only laughing at two things. One, that you said that's what kept me up as a 5 or 6 year old, but also I didn't want to get into hell on a technicality.
I was all the time accidentally breaking rules according to my mom's rules that I didn't know were rules until I broke them. So that's the type of God I had too.
Oh my God. I definitely want to write that show that's, into hell on a technicality.
Dang it. Oh, just missed. I should have read the fine print.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is your growing up in this environment. And this is the show is about that growing up in this house?
Yeah, it's about sort of me going back in a non-musical fun home style to sort of look back over those memories as an adult, but as like a leering sort of ghost in the I will say that like it's a show that's about discovering things that aren't quite the way that I remember them. So that's what I won't get too spoilery about, but just know that like what I have given is basically just act 1 of a 3-act piece. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Is that a good draw-in? Am I doing well for advertising purposes?
1,000%, because my next question was, where and when can we see this?
I am not sure that I can say anything definite. I know that we were very close to pulling the trigger on something for the Jubilee season before the lockdown happened. And I had a reading of this literally the week we closed everything down. Oh so it's not even something I can complain about because like every person in the world had their thing that got canceled. I'm deferred now. So there's use for me to be like, mine. I'm like, I know people that had just gotten on Broadway. That would have hurt me worse. You know what I mean? Like there were worse times for that to hit my career.
Yeah, that's for sure heartbreaking for that.
Yeah.
Melody says now she wants to see it. I think anybody who just heard that little blip about it is like, I want to see this show. Also, though, she makes this comment: masculine toys, church, cleansing the house. This makes me so sad. How about cleansing with love and effing respect? Um,
Where were you when I was growing up? No, I mean, it's the whole, when your whole community is like that, it's really hard to see outside of the fishbowl on it, you know? I really had to literally move like almost as far as I could until I hit water to get enough perspective to really figure out what was happening.
Wow, that's really interesting. Like the completely disassociating from where you had been.
Yeah.
Writing this show cathartic for you?
Yes. It was the process of figuring out, how do you forgive someone who not only will never apologize to you, but kind of acts like you owe them an apology? Like, how do you deal with that internally? It's like that, holding that hot coal of anger is only burning my hand, especially. So like, how do you set it down when it's only you and your anger left? How do you deal with it? I wrote a play. Make art with it has been my answer. That's how I deal with pain, is I try to give it meaning.
Oh, I love that. I really, it is so healing. When I was living in New York, we had a theater company there called Blended Productions, and part of our company was to do some sort of community outreach. And we taught at a homeless shelter. We taught acting, improv. We'd started dabbling a little bit in writing, but the kids mostly wanted to be active. But anyway, it was at a homeless shelter, and what they were able to channel through their art, through improv games, through monologues or whatever, was so powerful. It was such a piece for them, and it's very therapeutic.
Yeah, I definitely dig that. Like, as hard as this is, because I am playing myself in this piece. Like, I wrote it to sort of, I want a world premiere to sort of like get my little signature on them, and then I'll send them like a ship out onto the ocean. Right. But like, for me, I did a workshop of this with a friend's company, and the feeling of being on stage and working this out with my mom every night, because I know the actress isn't my mom, but like, sometimes it really felt like my mom. And in a weird way, this is the only safe way for me to get to be around her, because as mad as I am, and as much as she's hurt me, and as much as she's toxic and shouldn't be in my life, it doesn't mean that love that I have for her isn't there or doesn't exist. So it's nice to get to spend time with her in a safe way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes so much sense. Full testimony to theater and storytelling. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Melody says, talk about gaslighting. You made it out. I'm so proud and happy for you. And that is so true. I think we're all proud. Thank you.
I honestly can't believe my life. It is absolutely a dream every day out here. Yeah.
So one of the other things that I noticed, and I want to get back to theater productions and stuff, and where There's Evil in This House will hopefully come to be back. But before we do that, before we talk business, I learned that you did stand-up for a while. Talk to me a little bit about that and that journey and why it's set aside for the time being.
Well, it was exactly what I needed then, for sure. It was a good way. I mean, it was like 10 years of writing for an audience, writing for my own voice. I ended up winning the Funniest Mouth of the South competition in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 2012, which is funny because I am not from the South. I commuted down there 3 times from Michigan on a loan I got from a buddy. And because I won it, I was able to pay him back that loan that got me down there. But it got me like middling, you know, like not a headliner and not an opener, but like the weirdo in the middle that can do whatever kind of material they want. The sweet spot. That was my spot in the Midwest. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and none of that mattered. No one cared. And the way that I got started in the Midwest was like, you go to open mics, people see you, they go, I like your voice, I'd like you on my show, you build connections. Out here, it's just all the open mics are other angry comics waiting for their chance to talk, and you have no legitimate room to hear if your jokes work or not. And that's why I got more into improv out here, because improv out here feels like stand-up did in the Midwest, where it's just collaborative. We can't do it without each other. Your strengths are all a benefit to me and not a challenge. That's the energy I like now.
Yes. That is so interesting. I have never thought about it that way. But you bring up a really excellent point about who is actually going to be out there. Like, where are you getting the feedback and who are you back from? And it can be such a like unsupportive environment at times.
Well, like it's all about until you don't. So you have to have an audience that you can count on, like, because like a true audience that's there is like the biggest truth teller, because they won't laugh if it's not funny. So there's no like cheating your way through the system, right?
Right.
But then that's problematic too, because like in the Midwest, when I was presenting mail in front of conservative crowds, I wasn't always pushed to the most woke of material back then, and that's before I learned a whole lot of stuff. But if your goal is to please other people, whether it be in your writing or your comedy, it's possible, but it's not necessarily you, and you're not going to get everybody. When I transitioned and was like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm done lying. I'm done doing anything for other people. I just want to do this for me now. And then just started writing to that. Exponentially more people told me my work resonates when I write to me, as opposed to trying to write to you.
Wow. Okay, I needed that lesson. I cannot even tell you how badly I needed that. I needed to hear that in my own journey right now. I needed to hear those words, and that rings so true. Writing your authentic story is going to resonate with people rather than trying to pretend to be somebody else for them.
I do this thing called Pride Poets. This is what this is bubbling up in me. It's where we write free poems for anybody who walks by during Pride. This year, because of COVID, we did it on a hotline version of it. But it's like, I have a quick conversation with you for 5 minutes. We make a connection. I write a quick poem, and it's free-o. And that's sort of how that process works. It takes maybe about like 5 minutes to write it and 5 minutes to talk. And I always say that like the poem that's written is not a you poem and it's not a me poem. It's a poem that happens when we meet. It's the poem of our two energies colliding with each other. So all I do is talk to you until I find me, and then me that I found in you.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. Can I have you to write a poem about me? And
I can't, but if you want like 5 minutes of dead air on your channel, I can do this for you off the channel, and then you can read it next time if you want.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Okay.
I love the me and you and the you and me.
Oh my gosh, if you want to do like a session where I just do this for you while we're streaming, I would do that too, but I don't want to necessarily take up this show with it.
Yeah, no. Well, we might find another time to do.
Okay.
That's a really cool exercise. I feel like we've got something there that I think we should talk about. I really
Absolutely.
like this.
I do too.
I love that. Oh my gosh, Melody asked if you will write one for me.
I will write one. I will write one for people. It's so fun. I love making. I have been alone for 1.5 years. Connect with me and let me write you. I just want people back.
Okay, let's just go down this rabbit hole for 2 seconds, because I am socially awkward now. I was already fighting that battle, being shy and having anxiety. But now I'm like, I don't know how to speak to people in a public setting.
I guess I'm just raring to go for it. I have a friend who's like, I taught myself for years how to have my face when I'm listening to people. And over the lockdown, I've completely forgotten. So now I'm just dead-faced listening to people again.
Yes. Yeah, yes. Well, and then the other day, I finally got myself in to go to see a movie. I'm totally digressing. Sorry, audience. But I got myself.
In the Heights. Did you see In the Heights?
I did see In the Heights. Yes.
Did they welcome you back to the theater? Because they welcomed me back to the theater, and I was like, "How did you know I was gone? Thank you."
I love it. But there were times in the movie where I wanted to verbalize like I would in my living room. And I was like, oh, no, there's not many people in this theater, but they are strangers. So, oh my gosh,
I would personally love going out with you and having you forget to not yell things. That would be really fun.
Okay, well, we let's make a plan within the next few weeks how to be a regular person again.
Oh yeah, I'll be your training wheels for human interaction. You can use me to fail.
Thank you. You're Natalie. Thank you.
Anytime.
My training wheels for human interaction. I think you need to go back to stand up because I'm having too much fun just even chatting with you right now.
It just feels so mean. I do spoken word now, and I'm like funny in my spoken word, but it's not like where's the jokes? You know what I mean? Like it's just you can't waste anyone's time. It's got to be so packed. I can't use any of my old material. That you don't have no idea how many like dick jokes just don't work anymore now. Can't talk about that.
Okay, I see your point.
Starting from scratch.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, you can use funniest mouth of the South, and I think you need to. I don't know why you said that doesn't work out here, because if I saw that as like a, little headline blurb, I would be like, oh, I have to see her immediately.
The 2012 Mouth of the South. You would go out of your way for the 2012 Mouth of the South.
Yep.
That feels like they were fishing in the discount bin. We have the 2012 Mouth of the South. It's 2021. Who cares?
I don't know if I can finish doing this interview. I think I just will sit back and let you talk. Oh God,
I would let you let me talk. That's you're obviously you're a professional journalist. I feel the professionalism coming through.
Oh yeah.
If you let me, this would be the easiest interview in the world because I will just let you sit there and I will just spill everything.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, guess what, people? You're on for a ride because we're going to be here all night. So
all night, got you. Like tip your waitresses.
That's right. So let's go back to theater coming alive back in Los Angeles, and what we're waiting for to find out about getting your show up on produced. Like, where is theater happening right now in Los Angeles? What's the status?
Well, the status of theater, I think, is waiting for legislation to go through. I am absolutely not the spokesperson for this, but there is a combination of something, SB 805 or AB 5, some combination therein is being passed and trying to be passed because this Uber Eats legislation made it really, really hard for small theaters to hire actors as like volunteers or day players, and so now it's going to maybe require them to pay them full time, but many of these theaters cannot afford this and will close, and we don't want that to happen. And I mean, like where I'm coming from is like, I just want to act. Like I just want to get on a stage. I don't know from legislation. I don't follow the news. I just want to not know anything and talk to a crowd that knows not to talk back. That's all I want, Sam.
You're asking a lot. We can't talk back. That's where you ask me.
It's not like you at the movies. The theater crowds know.
That's true. Right. And so for anybody watching information, you can go to Facebook to SB, like Samantha Barrios, but SB 805. They have a Facebook group and there's tons of information. But that's like something I think that a lot of people don't think about are these art, how it's affecting the actual artists. And you're right, because you know, our job is to storytell, to entertain, to teach. It's not to do legislation. You know, that's not what we're focused on. So it is really affected us in a way. Actors are already coming at this with the short end of the, you know, what is that phrase?
Stick? Short end of the stick?
Short end of the stick. I was going to say short end of the straw. No, that's drawing the short straw. But we're already coming
straw that broke the camel's back.
No, we're already coming out with the short end of the stick. We already are at a loss. And now we're having to go for this. So I'm really hoping that everything goes through that needs to go through to get this show up for you. Will you keep us informed when it is so that we can let everybody know?
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yes, thank you. Because we definitely,
Sam, I will not shut up about this once I know. So it is guaranteed that you will know.
Yay. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I have a couple little, well, before I do that, talk about two other things really quickly. Mm-hmm. Our little fun Oh, we're back. So sorry. Everything, all of internet went down in my house. So sorry about that.
No worries. I was worried that I broke it. So, whew.
No. Our delay is back though. No, you didn't break it. I broke it. I'm not really sure how. It might be because we had a Scottish play earlier, so we might need to run around our apartments and spit and say a cuss word. I'm not sure.
My internet could be better too. I don't live in the greatest of areas. Sorry, sorry, internet. Sorry, everybody.
It might be the ALEXA is mad at me. Who knows? But we are back. Yay. So real quickly, I wanted to talk about briefly about diversity in theater. You had mentioned when you were getting cast and things, everyone was like, yay, we love you. This is great. We want all of that except most of it.
Yes.
So talk to me about where you would like to see theater going in diversity, especially in relationship to being transgender and what that looks like, what you would like it to look like.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, I've actually had a lot of time to think about a question like this. I actually wrote a script that was sort of like a horror script that starred a trans character, and she was just trans in a horror movie. Like that wasn't necessarily trans related. But they were like, is this the trans story we want to tell? You know, we're well-meaning liberal producers. And I'm like, well, it's a trans character in a script written by a trans person. Why is that not the story you want to be telling? The where it's hitting me is, I think everyone, and I'm saying this with a lot of love for the show Will and Grace. I love the show Will and Grace, but I feel like we're coming at writing for transgender people like season 1 of Will and Grace, where it's like, a gay person, please explain and make the whole episode about that, could you? As opposed to like season 5 of Will and Grace, where they're like, well, yeah, I'm gay, but that's like seasons ago. Now I've got other problems. I just like, let's start with season 5 Will and Grace writing for transgender characters. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I love that. And so were you finding that everything was just so heavily focused on that, or was it just also like wanting, so I'm Latina, and so what I get is like, can you be more Latina?
A little bit. I mean,
oh no, there's a delay, so I think we're caught.
I think I get what you mean though. Like, finish your thought about what you get cast at. I didn't quite catch the end of it.
Oh yeah, so it's just like if somebody is asking me to be Latina, this happens a lot in auditions, then they'll want me to be more Latina. And I'm thinking like, I don't actually know what that means, because there's not a Latina. Like, you have to tell me in your mind what you're seeing for this character, because I don't know what that means, because I'm just Latina, just me showing up. Nailed it. So, I don't know if it was something like that with the casting, when you're saying they're limiting what you're able to do or what they're asking you to do.
Yeah. I think that's how things that are stereotypical try to get communicated.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying too about that. It's just
right. The lag is a little bit weird, so I'm just gonna answer what I think was the question. I went to a diversity thing at UTA a while ago. And what I experienced was I saw a presentation by, like, there was a great transgender presentation there as well, but the person who was there for the disabilities advocates was someone who was in a wheelchair. And I talked to them afterwards, and it turns out that a lot of the problems that people with disabilities are facing in Hollywood is the same as the problems that people who are transgender are facing. And that is that our roles are being written by people, not us. Our roles are being given to people who are not us. And because of that, like the idea, like someone is like going to be disabled in a movie, and it's like, it's so sad, I'm disabled. It's very much a non-disabled person's mindset of what it would be like to be disabled, as opposed to like a disabled person, you know, they just get up and go about their day. And that so struck me because it's like so many issues, characters about trans people, non-trans people, and I think that there was a point where they were to be played by non-trans people. I think we're trying to stop that, but I know that like Scarlett Johansson wanted to play a transgender person, and it's just like, it's hard enough, you know, to act with the little amount of parts that are being given, but I think they should at least be given to the otherness that you're trying to exploit in these movies. If you are not even from that group in the first place, hire people to write it, hire people to be it. Like, I just don't understand why people don't understand that concept for any minority.
Yeah, it's that is excellent point. I mean, I have no more to add to that. I mean, you completely said that so beautifully. And I really liked your point earlier, which is in your writings, it's not about like, you know, for me, it's not about me being Latina. It's just I'm having this existence. You know, it's not about you being transgender. It's just a transgender person happens to be being hunted in a cornfield in this horror movie. I say cornfield because those are the scariest places on earth. That or anywhere where there are sharks, like anybody.
I got no argument.
Okay, so if you could give us a little, well, before I say this, Melody says, right, like just ask the group you're trying to amplify. Exactly. If you could give us like a little rundown of some things that you're working on and what you would
exactly.
like to see, what you would like to see coming out of the pandemic with your projects and what you're doing.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. So hopefully my play There Is Evil in This House sometime later this year. Also, my grant show. I received a grant from West Hollywood for $4,500. I will be putting up excerpts of There Is Evil in This House, a piece I wrote about my granny and sort of what I dealt with while she was going through Alzheimer's, and then a third piece I'm working on about dealing with death, because I've been thinking about death a lot. And in this program, I'm going to hire only transgender performers so that I can pay them with the money that I've been given in the grant, because I don't see that often enough. And if I can't see it, I want to be it. I did some really good work over the pandemic. I got HBO Max. I did the English language dub of the Spanish language show Veneno, which is amazing. And I did some loop group audio work on the Duplass brothers documentary series, The Lady and the Dale. And that was super exciting. And also, I just found out that come October, my play is going to be having a reading in Dallas at the Echo Theater with the likes of other playwrights like Young Jean Lee and other playwrights that I used to sell on the phone when I worked at Center Theater Group. I am now being featured alongside, and it is blowing my mind.
I love it. This is awesome, Natalie. Congratulations for all this amazing, wonderful stuff. Real quickly, is the show about your granny funny, or am I going to need an entire box of Kleenex?
I heard going to play next. I'm so sorry. It's so no breaking up on my end.
No worries, no worries. And I will type, no, you're fine. I'm going to type it in here too. What I was asking is the show you wrote for your granny, is it funny? Or am I going to need an entire box of Kleenex?
Oh, yeah, you need Kleenex. For the granny show. And absolutely. From There Is Evil in This House is the power of like bringing people back. So it started out as just a bunch of poems that I couldn't beat into a play. So now it's a kind of play in poems where the actress I hired to play Granny, over the course of the play, I try to download her spirit into that actress so that I can have some closure with her. So it gets really intense.
Wow. You are such a talent, and I am really looking forward to seeing all of these works. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. All right. So our final two questions of the evening, we'd like to ask all of our guests. And that is, what is your favorite theatrical experience that you either were a part of in a show or you observed as an audience member? And then what is your craziest debacle that you have experienced?
Okay, so I saw I'm going to bring it back to not only we talked about the first time I saw, I'm going to talk about the second time I saw it in Stratford, Canada, where it was at the Festival Theater, and it was lights out, and it was pitch black, and you couldn't see 2 feet ahead of you, and you didn't hear anything. And 7 seconds later, the lights come back on. The stage is littered with corpses, and you didn't hear any of them come on stage. And the witch, like, is going around them and picking trinkets off of them, and someone is, like, sort of, like, still twitching, and she puts her hand over him, and he struggles, and he dies, and she takes, like, a gold tooth out of his mouth. And it's the best Macbeth I've ever seen in my whole life.
Wow.
And the biggest debacle, I was in a community college production of a children's play called The Quilt Maker's Gift. And I was supposed to start singing a song, but the band did not start. So I was like, you'll regret not giving me that quilt. And it was supposed to start, and they didn't. I'm like, you're going to regret it. You'll see. And I finally go, I think I feel a song coming on. And then they started, and the audience lost it so hard that most of the song was not audible. It was just laughter for the whole 4-minute song.
Oh, no. What were they doing? Could they not hear you, or what? Were they like on their phones? What happened?
Probably on their phone, probably distracted. Like it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love live theater.
Me too. I miss live theater.
Me too. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for joining and sharing all of these stories and about all of your works and just about you. I really appreciate it. You were a true talent and a delight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I feel the same about you. I am so honored to be here talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone, we're going to head off. We do not have a show next Sunday because wait, do I have that right? It's July 4th next Sunday. Yes. Okay. I was like, wanted to make sure there wasn't a surprise, like 5th Sunday in June. All right. July 4th is next Sunday. We are going to be off, so we will see you in 2 weeks. Have fun safely celebrating July 4th, and we'll see you back here at KP Live in 2 weeks. Don't forget to watch Poetry, Prose, and Pirates.